Hey everyone, welcome to Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. I'm your host, Eric Oberemt. This is the podcast where the only requirement to be a guest is that you are being authentic to who you are. If you're not, I'll shut it down and I'll ask you to leave. Remember, be authentic or get the fuck out. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Be Authentic or Get the Fuck Out. I'm your host, Eric Oberemt. I guess we do this every time, so I'm just going to keep doing it. Sponsored by D&M Roofing and Siding, because we fucking pay for everything. And Roofers in Recovery, they don't pay for anything, but we give them money. So we just have to talk about that every time. So today is a special episode. I have brought in my friend, James McClenny. James, welcome.
Welcome.
Today's going to be fun. We were just talking about this before we started rolling.
Sure.
And the exciting part about this podcast for everybody that's listening and watching is, so James, tell them your title, obviously, like you're McClenny.
Sure. So original founding member of McClenny, Mosley & Associates, which is trademark MMA law.
There you go. So James is a big deal. We love James. But what's interesting is that everybody knows who he is, but not everybody knows who he is.
It's fair.
Right? You definitely hide in the background on purpose. You're fucking little stealth ninja getting shit done in the background. A lot of stuff happening, and only a very small handful of people know what that looks like. And I've been given the opportunity to spend some time with you in the past, gotten an opportunity to get to know you a little bit better, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And that was why it was so important to me when I started this podcast. You know, if you remember, like, you were one of the first people, you know, Peyton and I were like, we got to get fucking James on the show, right? And it took a while. We finally got here. But I just thought that for anybody, especially in our industry, and we have a lot, we're gaining a lot of reach outside of the industry as well, which is really fun. And that's what we're trying, you know, to do, because I don't want this niche, you know, industry specific type podcast.
Sure.
But we're getting that larger reach. But the people that are in the industry, I think it'll be really cool to be able to see a little bit more of the open side of James, just for fun. And then you can go back and hide in the fucking shadows and do your thing, right? But for about 45 minutes today, let's get to see the real James that hangs out with Eric and Pate and cooks out and drinks his fucking bourbon and, you know, has a good time.
Let's do it.
Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. So where'd you start? Where'd you grow up?
So originally from like the Pasadena, Deer Park, Texas area, which is right outside the Ship Channel.
Okay.
My dad was in oil and gas, and so bounced around quite a bit from that. Landed for high school in Mont Belvieu, Texas.
Okay.
So maybe an hour east of Houston, right in between Houston and Beaumont.
Okay.
So right on the Trinity River. And I mean, you could miss it if you blinked on I-10.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So graduated with about 100 people, so pretty small.
And then when did you go into the service?
So right after 9/11. So 9/11 happened. I did an early enlistment in 2002 and got out in 2008.
Okay. So when you enlisted, was it the 9/11 happened and you were like, let's fucking go? Or was it something you were contemplating prior to?
I think it was a mix. I mean, so I think if you ask my parents, I was a wild child.
How old were you when you enlisted then?
17.
Oh, you were young then. It was okay. Yeah, it was young.
Yeah, and so had a couple of run-ins with a judge that's in Chambers County. And so when 9/11 happened, he said it'd probably be a good thing for you to do, right? And kind of gave my parents a recommendation. And at the time, I mean, I played baseball all the way through, you know, did stuff like that. I played the drums. I was in a band. My original love was going to be, you know, rock star, you know, sex, drugs, rock.
So you were a fucking problem.
Very much so.
Okay.
Which is what the military was looking for at the time, right? So it was the largest rally around the flagpole moment since World War II.
Sure.
I think we had like 12 or 13 people out of my high school class join.
Wow. Out of 100.
So a big push.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, you know, growing up in Texas, right? I mean, you're taught, you know, God, country, family, that kind of thing, right?
And then Texas.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, I think Texas encompasses all of those. Right.
Yeah.
So just, it was kind of a natural progression, I think. But, I mean, I think it's kind of bifurcated, right? So like, part of you says it's the right thing to do. It's the time to serve, right? And then part of it is being young and saying, maybe I want to prove myself as a warrior. Maybe I want to do something that's outside the norm that most people, would say that scares the living shit out of me. And I think that's what I was looking for when I was 17, 18 years old, right? Trying to see if I was bulletproof or not.
Right.
So
where did you enlist to? What branch were you?
So I joined the Navy.
Okay.
Right. Went through boot camp in Great Lakes, Illinois. Got out and went to, at the time, it was the ETA school, which was in Great Lakes. I started out doing communications, and they had just opened up all the source ratings. And so I joined a pilot program to do kind of the initial push on some of the brown water Navy stuff, and got attached to a maritime interdiction operations unit. And that was kind of the start of the next 4 years.
Okay. Then where'd you go?
We did, pretty much pushes all over the world. So we did a deployment 0304, which was the Gulf of Oman, off the coast of Saudi. A lot of security measures, stuff like that. First round, they had a large, if you want to call it, drug problem, moving liquid heroin. They also were big into sex trafficking, things like that. So it comes with any type of third world country. It's a commodity based issue. Yep. Did an 06, 07.
So during that time, what was a day in the life of James?
So we were just kind of, we were on a 24-hour standby, and it would really depend on what was going on, right? So a day in the life was doing qualifications, make sure that you're up to par on marksman, whatever your MOS or your NEC is going to be. Mm-hmm. We worked a lot with the Marines. We deployed the 15th MU at one point in time. And so it was pretty much after 9/11, they didn't have enough personnel. So it's just wherever you're going to go is whatever the job is you're going to do.
Right. And your specialty was?
Maritime interdiction operations.
I don't know what the fuck that means.
So it means like boarding a dhow or a ship. So let's say
when you're not supposed to,
right? And so let's say
I want to hear about that.
Let's say
I want to hear about boarding a ship when you're not supposed to.
So let's say it's like an Iranian gunboat, or you have you have some type of a boat that's not chartered as a U.S. vessel.
Okay.
Let's say they're in international waters. You have a waypoint that designates them as maybe they weren't supposed to be there, or maybe they're there too many times.
Right.
A similar pattern, kind of a sequence of whatever they're doing. And so you would essentially interdict with that boat. You would board it. You would look at manifest. You would look at cargo. You open Connex boxes, you open hulls. You basically go in to find anything and everything that's wrong on the ship. Because
they don't want you there.
Because, they don't want you there. You've got Russian boats that are flagged as Iranian. You've got Iranian boats that are flagged as Yemen. And they're all trying to get around and skate, right? Essentially to make sure nobody finds them. We popped on liquid heroin, cocaine, children. It just really...
And what would you do at that point then? What did that look like?
So you bag and tag, right? So you'll flexi cuff, you put on a hood, you call in air support, or if you're close enough, maybe you transition them to your boat.
Okay.
And then, they go to the places that
they go to.
They go to.
Yes.
That's right.
That we don't know where they are.
That's right.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Outside the reach of U.S. center. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I like that. So then after that, you said then 06 to 08, kind of, you went a different route?
No, so just a different, the operational tempo is moving. So they had already made the push into Baghdad. Afghanistan was kind of at full bore at that point in time.
Okay.
So we did a lot of transit security, stuff like that. We still did a lot of maritime interdiction operations. We worked off the Horn of Africa. And so, unfortunately, I never got to really go anywhere cool. It would be all the places you'd never want to take your family.
Right.
But it was an eye-opening experience, right? I had really only seen the middle of the United States. My parents had taken us a couple places, and so you go somewhere else that, and it definitely
you go to Six Flags,
right? Yeah, that's right. It's just it's like candy-coated American eyes,
right?
And they get opened, and you see how it really works,
right?
Which was a good springboard, right?
Yeah.
So,
what was an experience during that time that shaped you?
I think it was more like once I got out. And so I would say like while you're on, it's hard to turn it off.
Okay.
Right. So you compartmentalize, you learn that really quick.
And
right?
you're supposed to.
You do.
Right,
you know,
yeah.
you're definitely broke down and built back up from a specificity of when we tell you to do something, you do something. Right.
Right.
You know, you still have to think within reason, you know, is it the moral thing? Right.
Right.
From a moral turpitude issue, something like
Right.
that. But you're made to push, man.
Because you had moments where you're making life and death decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and you really have to remember at the end of the day that, you know, one day you're not going to do this, right?
Is that okay? Is that something you would think about? Like you had to think about that though.
And you do, because you don't want to walk away with the life experience and that's what you think about for the next 30 years, right?
Right. You would have to think about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know a lot of guys that, you know, while you're in, you do things that, you know, you and I would normally consider to be, you know, grotesque outside the box, right? But
Right.
that's what you're forced to do, right? Was it the right thing? It may not morally have been the right thing. It may have been the right thing to do in that situation, right? Because the ultimate, I guess, mindset becomes, you put your family and your wife, your kids, everything else in the back of your head, right? You're operational right there, and right then and there. And then you really have to say at the end of the day, the people that are with me are more important than anything else, right? And, so they really drive the mantra into your head. It's better to be tried by 12 than carried by 6, right? So, if you need to bang it out on Main Street and sit in front of a jury later and say you would have done the same goddamn thing if your friends were there,
right?
Then that's really what they push you to, and that's what they expect,
right?
Which is, when you're young, you're formidable, right? I mean, somebody can mold you in a direction that you really start to learn as you get older. That, maybe it's not the right thing, or maybe it's something that you would have done different. And those are the moments that are that shape you. So I think my decisions, or at least life path, were more afterwards. Right. Because when I was in, I didn't really want to get out. I ended up, so I messed up my knee, my hip, my patella, my elbow. I had a 13 or 14 millimeter herniation on my L4, L5.
From a specific trauma?
Yeah. So, and actually nothing combat related. So I was, in 2006, we rode out to hot August nights from San Diego to Las Vegas. And I was coming through Anza-Borrego Springs on Lions Valley Canyon, probably about 120 on my motorcycle, and then woke up 2 days later in Balboa.
Oh shit.
And so it was gravel on the road, right? And never saw it coming. Had some Dionysus race leathers on, Alpine Star boots. I walked away from it, but don't remember it. I got up, pulled my helmet off. I quit smoking at that point in time, and I asked somebody for a cigarette, right? You're just like,
I would have
shit's
too.
going through your head, right?
Too, yeah.
And I looked down, my knees hanging halfway open, my patella's out.
Holy shit.
My fucking hip is partway fractured. My elbow is already just completely stripped back. And then, passed
So that's what got you. So that was what forced you out.
Yeah. And so at that point in time, I did
how old?
I did my rehab. I was 23.
Okay.
So I did my rehab. I deployed once after that, and just had major issues with my knee, right? Tore all shots, everything else like that you do to push through pain. And then when I got back, I would, run 5 miles, run 7 miles, and my knee would swell up like a cantaloupe, right? And so at that point in time, Doc, Monty, it's like, hey man, this doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So they sent you home.
Yeah. So that was pretty much.
So you came home and you had basically finished school, went to the military, or did you?
So I graduated high school and I got out of the Navy in 2008, and then I worked at Boeing and went to school full time at the same time. So I worked at the Sonny Carter training facility out on Ellington Field, and then graduated undergrad 2011. I did it in about 3 years.
From
University of Houston.
Okay.
And then my wife had been accepted to UTMB in Galveston.
Okay.
So we decided to stay in Houston. And I never really thought about going to law school.
Right.
I had a professor sit me down and basically said, you're extremely like, the dichotomy of an argument makes sense to you. You're very methodical, right? You go top down, here's your issue, your rule, your analysis, conclusion. You don't waver from that. It's very black and white on how you think. But if there's an argument that you can make that persuades or changes that, you're willing to do it. And he said, you should go talk to somebody. And I said, man, I'm fucking covered in tattoos.
Yeah.
Right. I have a terrible mouth.
Yeah.
Right. And he was like, you'll be perfect.
Yeah.
Right? He was like, fuck it, you'll fit in great. Right. I was like, whatever. And so, no, I went. There's a lady named Lisa Norman over at Andrews and Myers in Houston. I clerked with her, and she does construction law and like construction defect stuff.
So weird question, just because this is where my head goes. Like, did you have a family well off enough to be able to handle that, or was that a thing where you got in and you paid your way to go to law school?
No, so myself and my wife were pretty much on our own.
Okay.
And so I mean, my parents did great, right? No issues there. Just not financially off to send us to college, neither myself or my brother.
So you pulled all that off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we worked, I worked full time all the way through undergrad, full time all the way through law school. We came out of law school, no debt.
Law school's not fucking cheap.
No, it's about $200,000.
Right.
And then we paid my wife's school as we went.
And you paid for that by working at Boeing.
We both worked. Yep.
Okay.
So I did that. I worked at Boeing. And then when my contract was up and I was able to renew, I went ahead and took a job at a law firm to start transitioning to, instead of doing something different, start getting better in the field about what I was going to focus on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I got into the first party gig. So
was
that. So I took an internship at a law firm that was in the Woodlands, and they were on the backside of the BP docket after Deepwater Horizon, right? So, and they had just got into the first party sphere of saying, contested insurance policies, denied claims, stuff like that. And so really we went there and, I mean, that's how I met Zach. He was working at the same place. And we kind of built their commercial division, right? So we both knew that we had an acumen good enough to go out and sell. Mm-hmm. So we worked a docket, went to school.
So you just kind of started doing first party, like off the bat, kind of.
I mean, I've never done anything
else.
Right. No, I mean,
it wasn't like you did 5 other things and you're like, nah, we can do this and make money. It was just like, this is what you did.
Yeah. I mean, so, I did construction defect for a little bit at Andrews with Lisa. And then my career, my entire practice has been first party.
Interesting.
So,
okay. And so when did you go out on your own?
2016. So May 6th of this year will be 6 years.
Okay. So I know a lot of people that listen or watch are like, they're owners or business owners or people that want to be.
Sure.
Talk about how scary or not scary that process was, because I've heard the stories before where you're like, we didn't have shit.
Yeah.
We had to, we had all this, money we had to float and find and, whatever. And if I remember right, didn't go into a bunch of debt to do it.
No,
right?
We're still liquid. We've never borrowed any money. Yeah, I mean, we had a bad experience at the law firm we were at. We were both owed substantial 7-figure bonuses. Didn't work out.
Seems like every fucking story starts out that way of, I went and started my business because this motherfucker didn't want to pay me.
Which was actually, I mean, it was the whole premise of like MMA. I mean, and you can ask anyone that's ever worked for us, right? I mean, the one thing we don't fuck around with is their money or their bonuses, right? Because it's, to me, that's like your lifeblood. That's what you rely on. That's what you financially look and steer your daily, your purchases, your homes, your cars, all that kind of stuff, right? So when you have those kind of things that you're waiting on as far as bonuses or whatever it may be, and somebody pulls that fucking rug out from underneath you,
right?
I mean, and it happened to us, which was a good life. It was a good life lesson because it really made me understand, like, don't ever let somebody fucking interfere with your money,
right?
So, so myself and Zach basically make the decision to go out on our own. We start at the day after Cinco de Mayo, May 6th.
Which is interesting because you two couldn't be any fucking different.
No, we are 100% fucking opposite. Right. Which is, what is the best business relationship I've ever had, man.
And they always are, right? They always are. But when from the outside looking in, you're like, how the fuck could you two, you know what I mean? Like, how do you two hook up in the beginning, right? And it's because of that, though.
It was really just from like a business standpoint, though, because you can, look, we've argued, we've yelled, we've screamed, we've thrown shit, right? You get mad, you walk out, it's fine, right? That's how you fucking communicate. But it's, it's like your second marriage, right? It's the person that you're going to get in bed with that your spouse didn't fucking ask about, right? And so, myself and Zach basically came out as just straight business. And so when we opened MMA, we literally probably had 30 grand between the two of us.
Wow.
And this is the most expensive practice when it comes to the legal world because of the experts, the engineers, all of the things that you have to do from like the federal rules as far as like designations.
And the deep pockets of your opponent.
Right. Well, and you're not fucking around with somebody that hit you with a car, right? Or something like that, or, slip and fall, even though that's insurance based, because if you sue HEB or you sue Kroger's or Target, whoever it may be, you're going to get to their insurance policy. They're going to respond.
Sure.
But you're talking about like multi-billion-dollar per year, Goliaths, right? And it takes a lot to fucking persuade them. So, I mean, we essentially started in the downstairs bedroom of Zach's house, right? My daughter was about 90 days old at the time.
Wow.
And so, I mean, definitely, it was kind of the conversation between myself and my wife was like, don't fuck this up or I'll divorce you. Right. Which I think was fair. Right. Because I had an opportunity to go work for somebody else and make, $250,000 a year and go do what I do. And I said, fuck it, I'm going to do it on my own because I know that I can.
Did you ever get to go, ha ha?
No.
Okay.
I've actually ran into my prior employer.
Oh, I don't mean to that. I meant to your wife.
Oh no. I think she gets it. Okay. Right. Yeah. We've had other conversations, right? So,
but the ha-ha ones, sometimes that's kind of fun though, just to have that in your back pocket. So, remember that time?
I do.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, so, we started, in our first year, we, made a little over $1 million. And so we really knew that we could do it. We signed, in person by hand, 1,100 contracts in our first physical year. So May 6th to May 6th. And so we probably spent 250 days on the road.
Wow.
We probably met with every contractor between here and fucking Colorado 2-3 times. Right. We loaded up. I had an old, I had a 2008 Ford diesel and it was probably worth 30 grand at the time.
Sure.
So I sold it and bought a piece of shit truck and drove it for like 18 months because I needed that money to fucking pay for other stuff.
Sure.
Right. And I still remember, like, I mean,
that's called sacrifice, people.
Yeah.
Fucking like learn how to sacrifice sometimes. Like, people don't want to do that.
No, I mean, and the hard decisions are the hard decisions. Like, we paid our staff, probably for the first 7 months before myself and Zach ever took a penny.
Dude, we always get paid last.
Yeah, I mean, as an owner, that's what everybody forgets, right? They're like,
last.
oh, you made $30 million last year. And we're like, fuck it, man, right? 27 of that went out the fucking door, and after I paid taxes, I cleared about $1 million, and so fuck off, right?
Yeah.
And they don't get the game of how it
and
works.
You get paid for 2022 and about 2024.
That's how that works. Yeah. That's right. Or the IRS fucking sends you a bill and says, you fucked up on your taxes.
Yes,
now you owe us a bunch of money, right?
Yeah. You worked all year.
Which happens.
Yes, correct.
So yeah, I mean, we made the self-sacrifice, never went into debt, and we basically put ourselves on, like, I remember when we were on $5,000 a month salaries, right?
So define never went into debt, because people listen to this are going to be like, fuck you, never went into debt. Like, you had to borrow something.
So we basically like liquidated anything that we had, and basically just fucking put it all in the business and didn't pay ourselves for 7 months.
You weren't running off of a line or a credit or a card or anything.
First off, what you don't know as a business owner that you don't think of before you go off on your own is when you're broke, and I mean broke, and you have a business, a bank was not going to give you shit.
True.
Right. And so
how do you sign clients not knowing if you can actually float the costs of experts? And you know what I mean? Like, that's
a huge leap of faith.
Okay.
Right. And so, like, we worked with a lot of good
because
public
you were honest with them.
We did. I mean, like, we would straight up tell people, like, hey, I've been doing this for 4 years. We just started our own firm.
We're really fucking good. We're really fucking good.
We're really good at what we do. Please trust me with this.
Right.
And a lot of it was, we knew that we could get an ACV payment. right?
Okay.
I knew that I could get a release.
Yep.
And if I could get the ACV payment, then I could float the cost of litigation.
Sure. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And we just had to architect it out. I mean, we started with about a 12 by 14 room and a whiteboard.
Yep.
We bought 2 desks that was $50 for both out of an old Enron oil and gas sale, right? So after they go belly up, Sarbanes-Oxley hits, all this other financial shit comes out of it. There's these warehouses of all our furniture, right? And so they're just old fucking wooden desk.
Do you still have them?
I think we do. I think they're in storage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I think we should find them.
I wouldn't want them in my office now.
No.
But they're atrocious.
But they
right?
could be like a thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could set it up at some point in time and
put
be
them in like a
this
shadow box in the corner somewhere.
Started.
Yeah,
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Or take part of it and put it in a shadow box.
100% you should. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was just it was a lot of wake up at 4. Get to Zach's house at 5:30, right? Work till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Go home, do it again. Not see your wife, not see your kids. Just a lot of that sacrifice, and knowing that if you don't do that now, right, the success on the back end's not going to be there
later. Yeah,
right?
Right.
And then just understanding that investing in the business was better than just taking money out of it, right? And so that's really how we never went into debt. Was we could have paid ourselves, $2-3 million in year 2, and we didn't. We put it back in the business. Right. We hired attorneys,
and you were both on the same page with that.
Oh yeah,
that's the harder part, right? Like, because I've never had a partner,
right?
Because I don't fucking trust anybody, and I don't want to give anyone any type of control over a decision making process. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I assume that that's probably not easy for you either. But you've grown the relationship and you trust him so much, right? Like whatever. But like in the beginning, I can only imagine how difficult that probably was, right? I mean, or maybe I'm wrong.
No, I mean, it's kind of like that. It's just that it's like what do they call like a trust fall or whatever,
yeah.
Right? I mean, so I knew that I was good on my own, right? But I do a lot better like on a personal relationship level. I don't do social media,
right?
I don't do Twitter. We talked about earlier,
right?
It's not. It's not
motherfucker
me, right?
Sits down and says, "So what's this? What's this about?" I don't even know where to find it. And I was like, we finally figured out though that you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts,
which I can do
because that's on your phone.
That is,
and you don't have to.
Yeah, I'll have to go look for it because it's probably like Lamb of God or something like that, right? Totally different.
We'll find it. Yes, we'll find it for you before you leave. But sorry, go ahead. Yeah. So partnership.
No, I could have never chosen a better partner, right? I mean, and we both came at it with the same understanding as like, I'm really good at some things and Zach is really good at others.
Yep.
And understand that if we both don't agree, we don't do it, meaning I don't overstep him and he doesn't overstep me.
Right.
And it's hard, man. I mean, I've been in a lot of situations where I walk in and I say, this is what we fucking need to do. And Zach will say, that's not what I want to do. And it takes a lot to not do it. But I respect on the other side of the table is the fact that when I say we're not going to fucking do this, he doesn't do it either.
Right.
Right. And that's taken a long time to get perfected because now, man, it's like you walk into the office and I can walk in and I can be like, this is dog shit. These people fucking suck. Fire that person. I don't like this situation. And Zach will be like, okay. Right. Zach will walk into my office and say, here's an investment. Here's this. Here's that. I want to do this. Here's what we need to pay down, whatever it may be. I say, do it. Right. I mean, and you got to understand that we both have enough eyes and, hands in the business. We understand it.
Right.
We just see things differently.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we come to the same decision, just different ways, right? Just different life experiences and background, which is good.
There's days I envy that.
Yeah.
Like I envy that because I feel like very alone.
Making your own decision, making your own decision
all the fucking time
is a lot, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
For sure.
Yeah. It's just, you do it for so long.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And you don't know how to do it another way.
No, that's right.
You know what I mean? It's just, I love this conversation because it's just really interesting because there's days that I'm like, and actually Lexi and I were talking about it before because we were talking about like when my grandfather died.
Right.
Because he was my best friend.
Sure.
Right.
Mentor,
and we did business together. Mm-hmm. And he could run shit over me. I could run shit by him. And we figured things out together. And then once he was gone, mm-hmm. It was like I was talking to a fucking wall.
But now you sit back and you remember those situations and the conversations and you say, what would he have done?
Correct.
What would his advice have been? Right.
Right.
So I had a really good mentor that was actually probably the biggest springboard for me to go start my own law firm is Will Cannon. He died in 2020. during the middle of COVID. He was in his 80s, really? 86, 87, somewhere around there. And I mediated with him a couple hundred times. So he was prior Army, joined the agency, CIA kind of guy afterwards for maybe 15 years, gets his law license, goes on to try like 200 cases back in the day with like Joe Jamail, all the Houston rock stars. I mean, a guy that really put down like some pedigree into the legal field.
Yeah.
And gave zero fucks about anybody.
Yeah.
And it was my biggest draw to Will is he would sit you down and he would say, you're fucked up. You should settle, or you're right. Go try that fucking case. Right. And he was no bullshit. And so I'm sitting in his office one day and I sit down and he was like, you know, I think you need to go start your own business. And it was like just kind of I'm going to give you some old man fucking advice, right? And I'm like, well, Will, how
that you didn't even ask for?
Yeah, I didn't, right? He's like, he's going to give it to you against your will. You're going to fucking listen, right? And
he's going to rape your mind.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, rape and pillage, do what you need to do, re-perfect it and let me know what my decision is. But so he sits down and he says, this is what you need to do. And I'll tell you why. And I said, well, Will, how'd you know that you wanted to start your own law firm? He goes, well, fuck, man. I was sitting at this one law firm. I'm working at a desk, and they told me I had to share it with another like second or third year lawyer, and he was going to share my desk with me. I turned around and said, you know what? I fucking quit. And I was like, Will, how'd that work out for you? He goes, I went and bought this really shitty Jaguar before they knew I didn't have a job. And he goes, and it was the worst car I ever bought. Right. And I was like, but you've been successful now. He was like, yep. And I had to live in that fucking car, and you're like, so you listen to these stories about it's the self-sacrifice, right? It's the things that you don't, when you walk into an 8,000 square foot mediation center and it's Canon Mediation Group and you're like, this dude's a big dick in the legal industry. You don't think for 2 seconds he fucking had to, but you look back
live in his old
say,
shitty Jag.
How the fuck did you get here?
Yeah.
Right. In order to gain enough of people's trust in this field, like to have the integrity as a mediator is a big deal. And people gloss over that. Right. Yeah. So I look at myself and Zach and I say, like all these naysayers in the industry and everything. And that's probably the biggest reason I stay out of social media.
Yeah.
Is because I just don't fucking care.
Right.
Right. Is because we've got a hands down best product in the fucking world. And I don't really care what anybody else thinks about it. Right. Because the legal field is so competitive. Right. The best compliment somebody can fucking give me is that they fucking hate me.
So let me ask you a question real quick. Because something that I heard that resonates with me is because you said the word naysayer, right? And then you said, I don't fucking care. Mm-hmm. But you said it with the emphasis of, but maybe I do a little bit and I want to show those motherfuckers how good I really fucking am. Because, right? Because that's how I am. Because I've had people my whole life look at me and be like, that motherfucker isn't going to do shit.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
And so everything that I did from that point on was so that one day I could put up a fucking billboard that said, see, asshole, see what I fucking did.
Yep.
And at the same moment, I will say the same thing and be like, I don't give a fuck what that guy thinks about me. Because I don't.
Yeah.
But I still have that little bit in the back of my mind that's like, but fuck you, and I see what I did, right? I mean, I assume that that's there.
So I think from a business standpoint, right, you definitely have to care, right? Because you have to have an understanding that you don't want the negative connotations that someone else is going to provide about your business to be in the stratosphere that other people are going to hear.
Right.
Maybe you need to rectify that, whatever it may be.
Sure.
Right. But then from like a personal standpoint, like I'm here, I've done it. I'm not going anywhere, so I don't have to worry about it.
No.
But as far as like the MMA brand, right? I mean, I'll fight tooth and fucking nail to make sure that it's still there.
That it's clean.
Yeah, and that it's clean. That's right. And so, I mean, 10 years ago when I got into this, like nobody did first party, right? It was like a fucking golden goose. You could flog the shit out of it and make a ton of money. And it's like now everybody that's a car wreck lawyer or think there's, that they're a cool kid somewhere that a fucking hurricane hits, all of a sudden this is what they want to do.
Right.
Well, the unfortunate thing, they get 6 months balls deep into the fucking storm and then they pick up the phone and fucking have to call somebody that's actually going to litigate those files.
What they're doing.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's just how it works.
Yeah.
Right. But no, I mean, I guess, yes. Does it bother you that somebody says something about you? I think it's always going to.
Yeah.
Do you let somebody live in your fucking brain rent free?
Right.
No.
That's different. I just think it's disingenuous for anybody to say, I don't care.
That's fair.
Because I say that stuff to myself once in a while and I'm like, no, you lying fucker. I do. Like, I care.
Yeah.
And that's why I do some of the stuff that I do.
Sure.
Right. And I think that some of that older stuff too, past life stuff, people telling me that I was a pile of shit, whatever. And I was.
Yeah.
Right. But I think even it from 15 years ago will motivate.
Right.
At certain times in my life. Not all the time, but every once in a while you get that little look back moment.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
You look, man, you can look at certain things in your life and you can always be mad about them, or you can
use them.
You can use them. Right. And I try to be as far as like and you can ask anybody that works for me. It's hard to be positive all the time. Right. And as a business owner, what the general staff or your clients and everything they don't see the background of what it takes to move the mothership down the street.
No,
right?
Fuck no.
So they lose sight of that. So you may come in and you have a bad day and it has nothing to do about people, cases, or anything else like that, right? You looked at your quarter one financials, you didn't hit your goal, right? It doesn't have anything to do with them, right? That's on me, because at the end of the day, it's my fucking name, right? So if I push harder, or if I fucking mentored better, or I gave somebody better tools, or whatever it may be, right?
Yep.
It's like when you first asked me to do this, and I think we were texting one another back and forth, the biggest thing from the military that they used to always say is just work the fucking problem.
Yep.
Right? Because you can only be mad at yourself at the end of the day. And that term has so many different uses. It's not really what is the problem, how do I work it? It's more of an understanding of the problem's always evolving. It's always going to be something different and enigmatic, right? And you can't just say that there's a one size fits all.
Right.
So, but when you come to the table, there's a problem. Let's not be, like I said, the naysayer, the negative Nancy. Let's be solutions oriented, right?
Yep.
Process over results.
So what's really funny is that, Michael Carver with Beacon. And so he was on the podcast a little while ago, and if you ever listen to him, you'll hear this part.
Sure.
Half of the thing that we talked about was the difference between kids that grew up having to figure shit out, and that those are the people that end up becoming successful. And we ended up we just came up with a term and started calling them figurer-outers.
Sure.
Right? Those are the people that learn how to work the problem, right? Because that's how you get somewhere.
Right.
If you're always having someone else figure it out or work your problem for you.
That's right.
Fuck you. You shouldn't get paid very much then. Then you're just a warm body.
Yep.
At that point. Agree? Disagree?
No, I do. I mean, I think anyone that is pushed outside their comfort limits, right? Their comfort zone, however you want to say that, okay? If you're made to figure out a situation on your own, right? You learn that the problem can be solved, right? And it may not be a perfect fix, right? You may have done it differently later.
It might not be a good answer.
And it might not be a good answer, right? And a lot of times you have to look at the lesser of two evils,
correct,
right? And that's a shitty business situation. And I've been in those, right?
But it's life.
But it is, right? And nothing is, I fucking hate it when people are like, oh, you could have done this or you could have done that. And I'm actually, no, there was like 29 options on the fucking table. And we had to figure out a blended of how we're going to do this, right? Because there's so many different things going on. So I do think that's fair. I mean, to take it full circle, when you sit down and you say, work the problem, okay? Life's always going to dictate that problem is going to come and go. So it becomes a perseverance issue, a mental fortitude issue of saying, I'm not going to get knocked down, but if I do, the old adage, I'm going to get back up and I'm going to do it again, right? I fucking hate it, but Edison created like 100 light bulbs before the motherfucker worked, right? So if you stop trying, then you just you become the sheep, right?
Yep.
You become the person that's not going to, like you said, a figure outer or persevere outside that sphere, right? The person that just says, well, I don't care, right? I'll make it work eventually, right? Those are your people that go on to be successful.
100%. And those are the people you want in your organization.
That's right, man. And it takes a long time to find that.
God damn, that's the truth.
Dude, I would say for every 10 people you interview, you hire one, maybe they'll be there in 5 years, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's the shitty thing about the business side.
Yep. And I think that you can teach it a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. But a lot of it is innate.
Yeah. Like for us specifically, like in first party, the biggest barrier to entry is, sure, you can go to law school and you're already an alpha amongst fucking persons that have gone through their college career, right? You know, you've got a Juris Doctor at that point in time. We know that you're really fucking smart,
right?
But are you more than smart, right?
Right.
You know, I would take a C student all day, right? That is a fucking, you know, soccer player that fucking recreationally uses drugs and doesn't give two shits about anybody else, right? Because I know that they can compartmentalize shit in their life.
Right.
Right. I know that they can fucking do the work when they need to do the work, and they can party when they want to party.
Yep.
Right. And I don't need the kid that's going to party on my time. Right. And you can use that for anything. Right. You can say that I want the kid that does, you know, A, but maybe he's better at doing B. But at the end of the day, as long as he can segment those out and do the job, right, we can teach the process. But the one thing that makes it harder than anything is the construction aspect, right?
Yeah, 100%. I was just going to say that.
It's a sheer wall.
Yes.
Right? So you can bring in attorneys, and we have before that they're excellent litigators. I'm talking about hands down, trial guys, bust your fucking balls in front of a judge.
But if they don't understand the argument.
If they fucking can't understand how a building is constructed or deconstructed or how mitigation works or simple just, you know, stuff that really is like, you know, civil engineering or, you know, how an architect is going to fucking do live load, dead load, or you go through all of these aspects of like how you equate buildings once they're actually impacted by a covered peril. That's where you lose people, man, because they can read the black letter law. They can break that down and say, oh, I can make this argument. But you put up a demonstrative and you start talking about a building and you start talking about envelope and things like that. That's where you lose a lot of people.
I remember I was asked to be an expert witness on a small little case in Omaha for a guy that was representing the homeowner, and he had no fucking business, none whatsoever, handling this case.
Right.
But it wasn't a big case. It was, but I think he took it because it was his nephews or nieces or something like that, right?
Family, friends, and friends.
Exactly. And so he took it, and he was suing fucking State Farm or Nationwide or whoever it was, and asked me to come in and testify. And it was an old wood shake roof, and it was, I don't know, maybe a couple $100,000 worth of shit. And after I got about halfway into it, and I'm sitting in a deposition with him, and I was embarrassed because I had to change the narrative as he was asking questions. Cause I'm like,
that's not right.
I'm like, can I just ask the question for you? Because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, just say, Eric, go.
Yeah.
And I'll just go. I ended up having to walk away because I was like, I can't be party to this anymore. And like, he was calling me for months, and I was like, dude, I'm out. Yeah. Like, don't bring me into your shit anymore, because I can't be associated with people that don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Well, and you also don't want to get struck later or something like that, right? And so, you know, the sphere of being a professional witness and, you know, being an engineer or something like that, it's very hard to tiptoe, right? Because they put their license on the line every time they do something, because you're going to have a competing engineer on the other side.
Sure.
You know, they've got their story, you've got yours. We know what we're trying to achieve. We know what they're going to say.
Yep.
But it makes it really hard, because you don't want to lose the ability to do that in the future, right? Yep. Because if you're an expert within your field and you do get struck at that point in time, every time that somebody wants to designate you later, that's going to be first and foremost, right? Yeah.
Okay, so we have to start wrapping up here, but one thing that I do want to ask, because you've done a ton. You've came from shit, from nothing, built it into a fucking monster, right? And that's all business, money, wealth, you know, whatever, right? That's what we talked about a little bit. But outside of that sphere, right? What is it that you, and obviously family's the answer, right? I know that the answer is family, but when you get the opportunity to start phasing out of this and not working 12-hour days like we were talking about before, right? Once you get the opportunity to start phasing out of that, what's your passion?
Oh man. So definitely, I would say, like, I mean, to start off, like, I've got to give, I mean, my wife is my biggest supporter, right? She's also my biggest ball buster, right? Because she will fucking tell you that you're wrong, right? Which I appreciate.
Don't fuck this up, or we're gonna get divorced.
Yeah, but that's why I married her, right? I mean, so you know, we knew each other in grade school, but never dated. And then I joined the military, got married, I got divorced. came home, we got together, and we've been together 16 years, man. That's so awesome. Like, I mean, I give her fucking kudos because, I mean, she will straight up tell you you're wrong, but if she knows that you need to do it, she won't fucking ask any questions.
Right.
Right. So like on the DOD side, like we still do other stuff, right? So like we're still active in the engagement, sourcing, munitions, stuff like that. And so if I come in and I say, hey, I'm going to fly to fucking Lithuania, or I'm going to fucking go to Latvia and I'll be back in 10 days, she didn't ask any questions, right? She may fucking tell me like, well, you owe me a spa day when I get back, or whatever it fucking may be, right? Yeah. It's a quid pro quo when it comes to that.
It's fair.
You know, but it's fair.
It's fair.
But, you know, I don't know, man. Like, I still try to keep everybody like within our organization and that knows us. Like, you've gone shooting with me. We all fucking do all this stuff. So like, I still go to the gun range. I try to go once a week. Right.
But you're not going to be the old motherfucker gardening. No, you know, you're 30, whatever the fuck years old you are. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe I'll grow pot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even smoke. So
right. Yeah. It's good money though.
It is.
Yeah. And maybe that's just something that you can take from this too, to be able to put in your back pocket to think about, because.
So I guess as far as like a sunset, right?
Well, not even a sunset, but like you got to be passionate about something that you care about enough that you're like, man, if I have all this fucking money, I've got millions and millions and millions of dollars. Who the fuck am I going to help? What am I going to do? What's my legacy going to be when they fucking dig my hole?
Yeah, I mean, so
it's like it's not that you made a bunch of money.
No, I mean, so we work with like Throttle Therapy, which is a veterans organization, right? So you know, I grew up riding motorcycles. I've raced. I probably own 30 fucking street bikes. I quit riding when my daughter was born. It's kind of my wife's decision more than mine, right? And so we found out we were pregnant, and literally she came in and was like, "Hey, the motorcycles go," right? And I was like, right? And you know, do you argue or does somebody else raise your kid, right?
Right.
Like, fuck this.
Yeah.
So you know, we've definitely been down that, but I don't know, man. I mean, I've got a 6.5-year-old. My son's about to be 4.
Yep.
You know, we've had some really fucking hard years with him over the last 3 years. Just the medical issues and everything else that went on. And like, thank God that he's, you know, coming out the other side of that, man. If you met him now, you'd never know the difference. He'll still burn your fucking kitchen down and fuck up your house, right? Like any other kid will, which is amazing, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, I think if there was something, cause I'll probably be fortunate enough by the time I'm 40 to say, we can do whatever we want to do. Right. And so I think what I would do, like if I had to look at it now, is probably like, I know everybody says it, but just spend time with my fucking kids, man. Like, you know, like I've already got my daughter into, she rides her electric dirt bike, right? Right. I don't care if she wants to race. I don't care if she wants to recreationally do it, right? If she wants to fucking play tennis, I'll play tennis with her, right? You know, if she wants to swim.
What a gift that would be then, if all of the fucking hard work and everything that you did gave you the opportunity then to spend the next 10, 12 years assisting them in growing up and not having to be gone at a fucking hurricane every time something happens, right? Like, so I mean,
that's definitely what we do right now. I mean, you know, you can ask, like, so during Hurricane Laura, you know, myself and Pate lived in Lake Charles for 5 months.
Right.
Sally hit in the interim, then Delta. I was probably gone almost 300 days that year.
Right.
And so, yeah, man, I mean,
that's hard.
I missed my daughter being 4 almost the entire year. I missed my son being 2 almost the entire year. And then on the backside of that, we got fucking hit with Zeta and then Ida. Right. And then, I mean, we got the office in New Orleans. And so, I mean, we've done almost 7,000 fucking claims since January. Right. And you look at that, man, I mean, and it takes a lot of sacrifice. Yeah. But I look at it like this, right? You know, it's, my dad used to tell me time, because with my dad being in the oil field and what he did, he wasn't home a lot either, right? You work shift, you work turnarounds, gone for 14 days, 21 days, whatever it may be, which is kind of analogous to what we do. So I really would, man. I mean, if that was like a gift, like you said, I mean, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
I don't either.
You know, I've recently started kind of reconnecting with some of the gentlemen that I operated with in the military.
Nice.
You know, so I definitely, like, from a personal sphere, had to pull away from the very, I guess if you want to call it, it's a very destructive lifestyle afterwards, right? So you've been through it. I mean, fucking, you get out, you don't know what to do, right? So you put yourself in a fucking bottle. I've done that, right? My wife was the one that fucking pulled me out of that, right? You know, you
how long did that last?
Oh man, maybe 2-3 years.
That's a long 2-3 years, isn't it?
You go through this fucking mentally, and I went through some of it in law school, and I found that I was in, very easy to get back in that, if that makes sense, right? It's a fucking comfort, right? I mean, and you know that, man. You and I have talked, right? Safe. So if you're gonna peace out to the fucking world, what do you do it with? Fucking Johnny Walker Blue and some cocaine, man.
100%.
Right? And so you have to really think about, like, what are you gonna do? Right? What would your family do? Mm-hmm. And so I sit back now and I say, life is a balance beam. And I really just I come back to my kids probably more than anything, man. And my son has humbled me 10 times fucking more than anything else I've ever gone through.
They center the fuck out of you, right?
Dude, so my son was born and had a G-tube within the first 6 months. He has never eaten my mouth until the last year and a half. Mm-hmm. And, trying to get a fucking 3.5-year-old to eat a goddamn chicken nugget when he doesn't know, he knows that he doesn't have to fucking eat it because you'll feed him. Right. And you go through these things and these progressions, man, and it stresses the family unit. Sure. Right. As parents, you think you're failing at what you're fucking doing. Sure. Right. You pull back. I mean, you talk about having a badass business partner. My son was born. We're sitting in the fucking hospital. And I told Zach, I said, the mothership is fucking yours. Right. I said, this is my fucking job for right now. And my wife and I fucking got him through the initial stages and what needed to go on. And about 5 months later, I fucking literally fucking hands off. Man.
Wow.
Never worried about money. Never worried about anything, man.
Wow.
Right. And you can't second guess decisions after that too, if you weren't there to make
Correct.
them. Right.
Yeah. No.
So you come in and you're like, hey man, I may have done this different. What can we do to rectify this? Here's somebody that has a fucking issue, and you go through that. So, I don't know, man.
I love that.
If I could have it, I mean, I'd show my kids all this shit that I fucking, that I didn't get to do. Right.
Yeah.
Start taking them with us everywhere.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Shit like
well, you
that,
can do that. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good goal.
That is.
You got it. You got a good goal.
Yeah, man.
All right. So the way that we end every time is if there was anything that was on your mind that I didn't touch on or that you wanted to reiterate to anybody listening, the floor is yours for the last couple of minutes if you want to bring anything else up.
Oh, man. I think we've covered like a plethora of stuff.
I agree.
I mean, it's a fast track for an hour to go through life, right? Mm-hmm.
I think work the problem was the theme of this fucking show.
Yeah.
That's going to be the name of the podcast when we post it.
Well, I think... So if I could give like a little bit of like advice for anybody that's coming out and wants to do this, right? And I don't care if it's on the attorney side, the contractor side. I've done both, right? Yep. I mean, I've swung a fucking hammer. I've built.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, your only self-reporting mechanism that you can have is yourself, right? And you can be most disappointed with your fucking self, right? And that is the biggest thing that even myself and Zach still talk about this all the time, right? We put ourselves in a fucking room and I say, what are you fucking worried about? Right? What am I worried about? Right? What have we done that I know that we could have done different? Mm-hmm. Right? And it's the self-reflection that you have to have in business to be progressive and grow. Right? I mean, to grow into where we're at now is something I could have never fathomed. Right? To have that kind of success, that kind of loyalty for what we have. Mm-hmm. But a lot of that is just like stay humble. Like neither one of us have fucking $5 million houses, right? You could pay me $10 million at the end of the year, right? Like I don't even fucking know what I would do with it, right? Like I just, you get to that point where you say like financially I have what I need, right?
Exactly.
Everything outside of that is a wish, right? Or it's a goal that you could achieve, but do you really need it, right? Like, fucking planes are cool, but who fucking needs one, right? Like, I mean, if I had a utility for it, right, then absolutely have it within your fleet.
And maybe we go make up a utility for it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there's things like that. And eventually that is one of the things that we've talked about because we travel so much, that gives you your life back, right?
Correct.
So I know you're gonna do a podcast tomorrow with a gentleman that I have absolute high respect for. Mm-hmm. Myself and him kind of cut our own teeth in the industry together from the beginning. So I met him during Hurricane Florence, and him and I think are we're brutal with one another, right? But it's just from a respect level, right? We both come from the same background. We both lost people. You work through that mechanism in life, right? You compartmentalize that and you push forward. And he's in the same place, right? But at the end of the day, you have to self-reflect, and he is very fucking quick to tell you that he did something wrong.
Right. Oh, okay.
Right. And that's a good thing though, because he'll come in and be like, hey man, we fucked this up. Right.
Okay.
And it may be on a mitigation job. It may be on something else that's going on. Right. And myself and Zach are the same way. So if there's anything that I could give to anybody on this is that you're no different than anybody else in the fucking world, man.
Yep.
The only thing that makes a difference is your legacy.
100%. I love that. Well, this has been fun as shit. Sure. So, I mean,
have to do it again.
I agree.
I will go watch your podcast.
I will bet $1,000 you don't, but that's okay.
I will take a picture of it while I'm watching it.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I hope that everybody here listening got to feel like they got a little bit of insight into who you are.
Sure.
And again, like I said, now you can go back and hide in the shadows and do your thing.
That's what I do best.
Thank you, James, for being here. The way that we end every podcast here. Remember, everybody, be authentic. Get the fuck out.